Hey everybody, we're back with another Redscroll podcast. I'm Rick.
I'm Josh.
I'm Ben. I'm Mark.
We're going to talk to them in a few minutes. I'll start with what I'm listening to. First off, the Body of Light record, Time to Kill. If you follow us on any social media, you know that we like it.
A little overwhelming.
It's real good. Kelly Malone, The Sacrificial Code. The LP, it sold out almost immediately, and we got allocated hard on like what we actually received, and I'm told there'll be a reprint in the winter. The CD comes with an extra CD which has a couple extra tracks, and by couple extra tracks I mean like 35 minutes worth of material. So
it's pretty sick packaging. And
yeah,
the CD's been selling real hard too.
CD is nice, so
CD's nice.
CDs. Coil, The Gay Man's Guide to Safer Sex +2.
Loungy.
Very loungy. Sounds like some Angelo Badalamenti Twin Peaks Lost
Very
tracks.
much so. Exactly that.
And then there's some tracks that don't sound like that, but for the most part, that's right where it is, and it's nice, and I like it.
Frogs again.
Clear Soul Forces still. That's on Fat Beats. It's hip hop, and it came out back in February, but I've just been revisiting it lately, and it's really good. That sounds like this.
For 25 cents, I got a bounce like Vega and Fence, nigga. With knife, we make your heads nod. Plead a vibe if you wanna try. Say we ain't the god, you gon' die. Take a couple steps, action live, pop la side, turn to side, never cry. Hit you with the ever nut. Hit me now, 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 hit me. Who got that mad style? Hit me now. Who got that weed pup pleasure? Hit me now. Hit me now, 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 hit me. Who got that mad style? Hit me now. Who got that weed pup pleasure? Hit me now.
And then the Golden Filter, and I believe that's out on their own label. It's called Autonomy. 4GN3S is the name of the label. I think that's their own label. And that's what I'm listening to.
Sick.
Don't let me go. The circumstance, it's clear you follow. Don't let me go. Don't let me go.
Alright, me now. The new uniform, the body, split, everything that dies someday comes back. Didn't really care for the first one. I like this one. That's on Sacred Bones. Strigoi, the oldest of blood, on Iron Bonehead. It's an Australian and US black metal band that has keyboards that kind of keep it interesting, keep me connected to it.
And the cover art.
Cover art's great. It's like a Nosferatu clown in the woods. Crypt Sermon, The Runes of Fading Light on Dark Descent, which doesn't come out officially until like mid-September the 13th, and that's helping me get through some D&D planning that I've been doing for this week's game. Legend from the Fjords, the 1979 Connecticut album, got reissued on a Greek label, and they did a really good job. So grab that while it's still available, because the originals are stupid expensive.
I got the entrance to the core of the world, buried beneath you are the bones and the blood of my power unfound. I do with armies.
Monarch, Beyond the Blue Sky on El Periso. It's fun psych rock, kind of deep.
It's all that one day say. Hold everything around you, please to be safe. Strip the song from the stringing board, leave an empty place. Keep peace among the others. Success.
Body of Light, gonna keep saying it. Body of Light, and then the Vatican Shadow, Byzantine Private CIA on Hospital, which is compilation or remastered.
It's like a reissue of
Yeah.
something that hasn't been available for a while.
Yeah, stuff that I never had. So
Yeah.
that's everything I got. How about you guys? Start with Ben.
Ben? Yeah. Last few things I got were the Kidnapped LP that Redscroll here put out. Great record. Really enjoyed it. The reissue of Death Threat's Last Days, they reissued as the 10-inch.
10-inch, no one's favorite format.
I know, but it was, I haven't listened to that record in a long time, so it was great to revisit it,
I listened
many
to
years
that
later.
the last time I mowed my lawn.
Yeah. I could use some yard work to that record. Aside from that, I got a couple of new Triple B releases. The Abuse of Power record, enjoyed that. The Buried Dreams record they put out was good. And just got that Burger Records put out the Colleen Green plays Blink-182's Dude Ranch.
Nice.
And that was pretty cool too.
Was something good, but some good things must end.
And you were telling me before, I haven't heard that, but you said it's just singing and
singing and bass guitar. Yeah,
that's it. Okay.
Yeah, it's
I'd probably enjoy it more than the original. So
Probably.
Yeah.
So that's something.
yeah.
There's probably less like dick and fart banter in between the songs. Yeah. That makes it much more up Rick's alley.
Almost my entire experience with Blink-182 involves Me Here. And Me Here trying to convince me back in the day that
Me Here of Our Final Say, Stab You in the Head.
Yeah.
Fame.
Him trying to...
Good to have a reference.
To get me to listen to Blink-182. So finally one day on a car ride, I let him put in a Blink-182 CD. And I think we got like 4 songs in. And that was a marathon for me because I do not like it.
Yeah.
At all.
I could see that.
I mean, specifically with me, sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, each song, and he asked me, it's like, yeah, no, still don't like it.
Yeah, even as someone who tolerated their early stuff, I don't think I could listen to 4 songs now.
Yeah.
Do you like Alkaline Trio?
No.
Do you like Aliens and Area 51 Conspiracy?
More than I like those 2 bands, yes.
You just described Blink-182. Got it.
Let's see what you're listening to, Mark.
Well, I've been listening to the latest Wise Blood record. And a lot of times I'm just putting on Tiny Desk concerts and let them play in the background. A lot of podcasts.
Podcasts, not so much music.
Podcasts. I do listen to some music while I'm like typing away. Lots of emails. It's things you'd expect, like mono.
Okay.
Appleseed Cast, maybe.
You should book them sometime. I'm
earlier
surprised you've gone this long without booking.
It has been a while.
A Manic favorite.
Well, my favorite.
I don't have them. I don't have them specifically in a question, but it's definitely the answer to one of my questions.
So like,
probably
like a Jeopardy kind of. I got it.
All right, so the new Wise Blood, new mono,
podcasts,
and Tiny Desk concerts.
Sure, yeah, it's a great way to.
Which Tiny Desk concerts do you like?
What was the last one?
What was the last one you heard?
Or the last one you liked a lot?
The last one I liked a lot?
Or a little?
Or a little?
Or a tiny amount?
What's the last one you can remember?
When you were at your tiny desk, which one did you listen to?
My desk is tiny. Tank and the Bangas is great. That was a great one. The National.
The Wu-Tang one was good. Did you watch that one?
I haven't seen that one.
Check it out.
I will.
Broaden your horizons.
Get them wide.
Okay.
How do they fit at a tiny desk?
Well, they weren't all there. They were missing some key
I also
members.
realized the name of the thing is not exactly. Anyway.
Well, some of them, some of the tiny desks, they'll stand on the desk and use that space as well.
Ben is amazed.
He on the desk.
On the desk. You are.
Mark's actually standing on the desk we're using to broadcast this.
Now, why aren't you live streaming events? Small ones. I'm not saying contract thing. I want to know, why isn't there like a live stream at Manic Mondays?
We have talked about live streaming events.
We're talking to Mark Nussbaum and Ben Levesque of Manic Presents.
That should have been.
We haven't said that yet. I just want to stick that in there.
Yeah, it brings us into context, I guess.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we've definitely discussed it.
You love Tiny Desk so much. Why aren't you doing your own Tiny Desk at Tiny Bar?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Tiny Nine.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It is a tiny bar.
It's a tiny bar.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
Little B, not Big B. No pizza.
No pizza.
No pizza.
They don't serve pizza there.
Yeah. Well, we'll change.
BYOP.
We'll change that.
We are working on it.
No, the live streaming, I think it's maybe technology. We just don't have the equipment to do it right now. I mean, it's been discussed, and it'd be cool to do for some shows, especially...
I feel like the technology is
It's definitely accessible.
So
it's just we
accessible.
haven't, you know,
You
it's just one of those things that we haven't prioritized.
Right.
And I think for a lot of the shows we do, especially on Manic Mondays, would be a cool way to get the word out about some of these bands, particularly some of the locals we've been working with.
For sure. That's why I'm saying it more so there than anywhere else, because I think other places you're going to run into contractual issues.
Sure,
but-
and I mean the other thing too is like if you want to watch the Flaming Lips online, there's plenty of places to
Sure.
do it. But it, you know, whereas like the bands are playing Cafe 9 that we want to get people into, it would be definitely like an increased benefit for everybody, really.
Definitely.
I'm an idea man. That's all I got. I don't know the technology. I can't tell you how to do that. I'm just telling you, figure that out.
You could probably
Okay.
do it with an iPhone, right? I think there's a
Don't do it with
camera.
Pretty sure you can do it with an iPhone.
They got a camera on those now.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah,
sure you
yeah.
should.
Ben's gonna run it.
Yeah.
Please don't make Ben run anything else. He's got a day job.
I got a lot going on, Mark.
All right, so describe to me your average work day. Like you leave your house, you head into the office. What's going on? How does Manic kick off on a weekday?
On a normal weekday where we don't have an event, or
Your average Joe work day, you got to go in on a Monday. What are you gonna do?
drink a bunch of coffee, drive into the office.
What time's that start? Like, tell people about your day. Nobody knows you anymore.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
Well, I drop off my daughter around 8:30. Get some coffee, drive in. Typically start around 9:30 in the office, and work with our marketing people to make sure all the shows get announced. Typically announcing new shows on Mondays and Tuesdays. Start digging through emails that came through over the weekend, and that's the point where I'll start listening to some of the new releases that came out on a Friday. We're always listening to new local band stuff. We have a database that we put together and listen to a bunch of bands there to.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let me step in there, because one of my questions revolves around that, and I think there's a ton of new young bands coming up. and
Totally.
I don't know if they necessarily know the process to get noticed by you to get on one of these shows. So tell the bands now, what's the best way to do that?
Send an email, but no.
To who?
To who?
To me.
To you direct, not to
Which
any-
is
You want the email?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
We're talking about real. How really does someone get into
Booking at manicpresents.com is my email, and we try to take a listen to any artist that emails us, and
Yeah, and I think the best way to do is to send us links. Definitely send us a link to a Bandcamp or a SoundCloud. Let us know where you've played, if you've played shows, who you've played with, what bands you're into. Give us an idea of, what you're looking to do. I mean, we get a lot of requests that are just hey, I'm in a band.
general request,
Which is great. It's good to see what's out there, but it tells us a lot more if we know where you've played, what you want to be doing, who, even your draw. And, if somebody tells us we could draw 5 people, I'd rather hear that than somebody tell us, we're going to bring 100 people in there. And it's I'd rather, if we know that you're going to bring in 5 people, we're going to put you on a show that makes sense, that's going to have a crowd, and you guys will get exposed to other people's fans, and your 5 friends will be there, and it'll just help build.
Well, it goes both ways
Yeah.
too, right? It's they're helping bring people in, but we want to book artists, on shows and build them up too, and
Right, and getting them on the right shows, I think, is a big
Right.
part of that.
That's the
because,
biggest part for us. Yeah.
So how do you, so this database you have, are you sectioning it off by genres or
By genre. We'll mark down when the last time we had them play and who they played with, and we update it pretty much every day just because there are so many new
it's a
young
deep
local bands.
pool.
It's great. I feel like it's definitely booming right now, and there's so many bands playing. But yeah, I have to say, we'll just be, I'll just be, online, scrolling through, and I'll see something that catches my eye, and I'll take a listen. And that band's really cool. I'll go to their Facebook page. There's like no contact info, and it's really frustrating because sometimes you can't even get a hold of people. And sometimes I have to send a few texts to find out how can I get a hold of this band.
Yeah.
So I think having your email listed on your Facebook page, not even for our sake, but and for our shows, but you will get more shows in general just by listing your email.
Sure.
I think having a SoundCloud or a Bandcamp with a few songs, even if they're demos, rough
Which
demos.
do you prefer?
Personally, maybe Bandcamp, just because I just use it more. But I think SoundCloud is great too. I mean, they're both really easy to use.
Yeah, anything that's not like a download, and not because it's like but it's so easy to click on a link and listen to music in the background.
Yeah.
And I find that if a band or an artist sends me something that way, I'll put it on. Like even if I'm like at work, I'll hit it on my phone.
Throw it on, yeah. And I feel bad too. Like bands will put together these like EPKs, and it'll be a PDF, and hey, we would love to do a show, and it's like it's an attachment, and it's just an extra step.
It's too much to keep track of.
If they took everything in the EPK and just pasted it into the email,
tell us where you're from, what you sound like, and what you want to do.
And please don't say you'll play any show. We don't want a band that would play any show. We want a band that knows what they want to do.
The best is when you get an email that it looks like they looked at the schedule where 3 biggest shows that don't make any sense together, and it's like, we want to play with the Flaming Lips, Kodak Black, or Earth Crisis, and it's like, well, that's cool, but what is your band like, and where have you played?
Right.
Well, I mean, there's also the factor that like a lot of these shows that you're booking, you can't have a local. So, like, even if someone sees an announcement, it's already too late.
Well, that happens a lot at College Street at that level, because those tours are almost 90% all packages, and I think we've probably had maybe a dozen locals since we've been open.
Right, and when it makes sense, and we'll ask for sure, and occasionally we'll book shows that are it's broken off on the package because they have their New York, Boston, Philly, DC, maybe they add Connecticut at the front or back of the tour, and maybe there is no package, and like, oh, do you have any local ideas? But yeah, Space Ballroom, we have more opportunities.
Manic Mondays, we definitely have
Manic Mondays, yeah, every single Manic Monday has 1 to 2 locals. Space Ballroom, we try to put on as many locals as possible, and we try to book as many like new locals as we can.
Yep.
And then obviously the staple locals, the bands that have been doing it for a long time, and and have been building it up. We try to put them on bigger bills whenever there is an opportunity for a direct support slot at the Ballroom or an opening slot at College Street. We try to call those people and everything. So
and ideally, like, what do you want from a band after so they've gotten the email that they're confirmed, all that stuff set, they're on the flyer. What would you like from a band at that point?
Basically for them to just tell people, make sure it's visible. So, go to any of their social media or their websites, that they, people can see that they're playing the show. Yeah. If they go to any live events, maybe bring some flyers. If, we'll print them. We'll print posters up. They could take some and put them around at some record stores, or, it's kind of, when you have a show, everyone should pitch in, and we kind of expect the same sort of thing when we book any band, whether a touring band. They have a publicist and label that assist in the promo, and they're helping push on their social media, and so we kind of expect just kind of a similar, we're all on, we all have the same kind of end goal of having a successful show, and I think it benefits everybody.
For some of the newer bands too, I think something big is don't be afraid to ask questions like what we expect of them, because a band that's only played a handful of shows sometimes and is getting to open for a band that's a little bit bigger. How do we do this? Should we make flyers? Should we do this online? Sometimes I'd rather find out that a band has no idea what they're doing. and kind of help them, because
Totally.
that's something too. It's like Mark said, it's a two-way street, and if we help develop these bands, it's going to be a good thing for everybody. I mean, they're going to be able to play more shows, they're going to be able to get more fans. It's just a good thing all around. And
What's a handful of locals that you guys like right now?
Spit Take is great. Snake Oil.
Laundry Day,
Yep. Yep.
Kidnapped, Ore Miner. There's just so many. It's like it's hard.
There are a lot.
We haven't had Mark on the podcast at all. We're jumping right in the middle of like current operations. Let's jump back. Your first show. How did that go? Bring us to that. Why did you book a show in the first place?
Our very first show was April 20th, 2002 at the Madison Arts Barn. River City Rebels, Grover Dill, Caught in Cleavage, which was a Flaming Tsunami side project. Doozer probably played, and maybe Slackjaw.
That's a wildly strange venue because it's in the same parking lot as the police station.
True. I lived in Guilford, and it was in Madison.
Shout out to the Three Girls Vegan Creamery.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. So I booked that show. I mean, at that point, I was going to see the venue that I was probably going to at that point were Arts Barn, Tune In, and Toads, and yeah.
So what prompted you to put on that show in the first place?
Well, at that point, I was helping out Kill Normal Records, which was Andy and Ethan from Flaming Tsunamis, local record label. Flaming Tsunamis were on that label, and a few other bands, and so they were basically setting up shows for their bands, and putting other local and touring bands on those shows, and I went on tour with them a little, helping sell their merch and roadie stuff, and saw a lot of bad shows and thought I could do better, and tried to book some shows for fun. I thought it would be fun to do.
Was it?
It was.
Yeah.
It was fun enough the first time that you kept going.
Yeah,
and then it was fun enough for a while that you kept doing even more.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, it was just something fun to do, and
did you ever do another show at the Arts Barn?
No, because they
that was about the time they were kind of putting the kibosh on that.
They were a bit tough to work with, and there was a bunch of points that were a bit frustrating working with them. So we decided after that show to strictly only do shows at VFWs and Knights of Columbus, and we basically said we were never going to do shows at clubs, and we were just only going to do like DIY shows, so that we have the control. We bring in the production. We just control all the aspects of the show. They were very controlling on the set times, and we were just renting out the room, putting on a show, and they were.
It seemed like they started doing shows again in like 2005. There was a bunch of shows around there.
Yeah, they stopped doing shows. I think maybe it changed management or something, and they started doing shows again. But
it's like town managed, right? So like it depends who the officials are at the moment.
Yeah. I think it is now. Yeah.
Well, it was then too, right? It is in a town park.
Yeah.
Of Madison. This is all none of us live in Madison, so like this is
someone from Madison would know more than us. But yeah, so
if anybody from Madison is available.
We did that
super specific.
We did that one show, and then we decided to just step away from doing club shows for a while, and I think that lasted probably about 6 years.
Yeah, probably about that.
Yeah.
I like that you asked Ben, because Ben had nothing to do with that.
Yeah, I didn't step in until about 2006 or 2007.
Ben might have not even been living in state.
Well, no, I know. But 2008 I think was when we first started doing clubs.
Yeah. I remember when we first started doing Daniel Street, and we're like, it's never going to get any better than this. They have a PA in-house.
Oh my God, we don't have to drag in a PA, yeah.
Because for a while, I was stopping here at the store to get your PA, drive to the Legion, set it up, while holding doors until it was set up, and then we would start shows.
Let's go quickly through, like, the venues that you've used. So there's hall shows. Mm-hmm. We can just lump those all in together.
Sure.
Unless you want to mention one in particular.
I mean, I think the Wallingford American Legion is probably number one in everybody's hearts and minds for a variety of reasons.
It is. I'm just laughing just because I'm thinking about, like, do we really want to talk about the Kensington SVEA Club?
Well, I've got the list here of all the shows from 2004 to the end of 2011.
And you're going to read them all, right?
I'm going to read them all aloud.
Wow.
We went to
archive.org?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
And this is...
We visited the Wayback Machine, everything.
It's actually... it's all the shows from 2002 till 2011. And on this, the beginning list, I didn't go to any of these ones here, but like the fifth one in is the Disabled American Veterans Club in Meriden.
I do remember that one, yeah.
Okay, that show was a problem for me because I had a show booked at that venue as well, and at the time me and Mark didn't know each other, and the show got shut down. His show got shut down,
I remember
which then got my show shut down.
Is that how we met Josh?
Two girls locked themselves in the bathroom at his show and flooded the bathroom, which then flooded the downstairs bar. And then some guys, I'm assuming during Folly, took the doors off the hinges and used them for some sort of mosh thing. So then the Disabled American Veterans were like, you can't have your show here. So then I didn't like Mark at that point.
That's kind of how I met Mark, too, is I was doing shows at Trinity on Main in New Britain, and he tried to get Holt there, and I was like, who's this guy trying to get Holt around booking shows? And, yeah, that was a fun time.
But then, on June 22nd of 03, at the Polish Knights Club, which is a With Honor show, you assumed I was in one of the bands and tried to give me an envelope of money. And that's how we actually met for the first time.
Really?
Yep.
What year?
03. But we had met prior to that, but neither of us realized it when I booked a show and you got your nose busted at the show, and I followed you in the bathroom to make sure you were okay and make sure you weren't going to try and sue us.
Was that Friendly Fest or?
Yeah.
Oh.
So that would be like.
Oh yeah, that was probably during In Pieces.
Prior.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the 03. 03 is when we officially met, and you tried to give me money.
And you didn't take it then.
Didn't take it. There was another show. There was an instance where he left a cash box with no one watching. So I took it to teach him a lesson and waited until he went over to the band and their tour manager and explained to them that there was no money for them. And then I gave him the box back.
Do you remember what show that was?
That was...
Was it Daughters?
No. I honestly don't remember. It's not. I don't think it's on this list. Oh, it must be on
so
this list.
So this is kind of like a roast.
We are jumping a little bit ahead, but playing pranks on Mark around settlement time has always been good. Remember the time, Rick, that we took a screenshot of Mark's desktop and then hit all his icons so he couldn't open the settlement sheet? He was freaking out for like a half an hour.
It was probably 5 minutes, but I do remember that.
Oh man,
you were very nervous.
Saving a screenshot as your desk.
That is a classic.
If anybody wants to use that, please.
That used to be a great move.
I'd like to roll ahead into these hardcore shows that you booked in 2004 at the North Haven Congregational Church, which was in the basement.
Yes.
Those were fun shows.
They really were.
Strange shows, because at that point you had like a 5-person team, and the first show I went there that you were doing, the door system was you give one person your money, another person stamps your hand, the third person gives you your change and marks or gives you your change. So there was 3 people that you had to deal with, and then there was the last person was on a walkie-talkie to someone standing on a chair in the back, and they would be like, "He's good, he's good, he's good."
Really?
Yep.
I don't remember that part.
Oh, I do. I do.
Well, I do trust you, so.
Overcomplicating things.
You would take the money. Dave, Manic Dave, would mark your hand. Sharon would give the change. Manic Mike would be on a chair.
I mean, that does sound factual.
Yeah. There was a similar setup at the early Legion shows too, because I remember I would walk by you, get a stamp from Mike, and just walk in.
There would always be two at the Legion. Always be two.
Yeah, it was at least a 2-person job.
It was a standard operating, yeah. I mean, you kind of wanted a second person there too, just to keep people from rushing by.
Sure, I think at least 2. I think 3. I think we would have 3 when it was a bigger show and there was a lot going on. And it's kind of, you know, the person on the end, the third person, is really more looking into the room, making sure everything's, you know, in order.
There's a lot of churches on this list I don't remember.
A lot of churches,
Which ones?
a lot of halls.
St. John's Church?
Was that North Haven?
I don't know.
I don't remember that one.
The show there was Most Precious Blood, Since by Men, Your Enemies, The Distance, and Breathing Process.
That sounds familiar.
Okay, yeah, I don't.
Or you don't remember St. John specifically?
No. American Legion Post 76.
Was that the West Haven one?
Post 76. I don't remember them by their post numbers. Which town?
Let's talk about, I don't know what year
Wham-Leg
this
is
was.
187. It's an easy one to remember.
Yeah.
There was one time you booked a ska core show at American Legion in West Haven on the second floor. It was before they did their renovations, and the floor was visibly caving in.
Well, it wasn't caving. I remember that show.
It was caving in, and I brought you downstairs to show you that the floor was going to cave in, and we watched it bounce together, and you're like, eh.
Well, you know, I remember having the conversation with the owner, too, because he came over. And yeah, there was I think it was Big D, Planet Smashers, and a few other bands. And I remember being downstairs with the owner, and I remember cringing when I heard Planet Smashers say, "Everybody jump!" I'm like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, "I guess I'm done."
That was also
this is the end. I'm going to jail.
Yeah. That was also a club where they still allowed the members to smoke inside. So as the humidity was building up inside the building, it was raining down nicotine on everyone. It was sick. It was disgusting.
Really gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember that part, but again, I don't doubt
I could
you.
probably figure out what show
It's
it
real.
was.
He was probably on a chair watching 3 people walk by.
I didn't even pay. I didn't go into that show, but I remember looking in.
Here, I'm gonna pass.
For some reason, I was hanging out outside.
I'm gonna pass
As
this
happens.
list over to Rick, and he can see where he wants to go with it.
Want to talk about the People Center?
Sure, yeah, we could talk about it.
Want to talk about how packed it was for Mount Erie?
Yeah, it's real packed.
Sad.
So
Hashtag
People
sad.
Center capacity was what, 75 maybe?
Yeah, it was probably at best.
I think I want to. Yeah, I think it was like 79 or something.
People Center is a like a what are they considered? Are they a communist study center or something like
It
that?
is a space in downtown New Haven.
It's a space in downtown New Haven,
You
but
know-
like the people that run it as
I seem to remember that was
it still exists,
Yeah.
but they don't do shows anymore.
Right.
That was a show. I think I want to say everyone sat down at that show, and it was.
But I just I remember there were people standing in the hallway. There were definitely people sitting outside, but like that was a show that was just like ridiculously. Like, it was, first show I was there where I was like, this show definitely should have been somewhere else.
Right.
I don't know if I was involved in Manic at that point or not. Probably not yet. I don't know.
I don't think so. But yeah, no, that show. I mean, that was probably the smallest show we did with Mount Erie, and then with Phil, and yeah, I think we went bigger from there. I mean, that was probably the smallest room we've really were doing shows.
It's definitely the smallest room I've
been
seen a
in.
Manic show at.
Seen a show.
I mean,
Yeah, we definitely did
besides
some shows that we
like a
shouldn't have done
basement.
there.
Yeah. Well, that
Yeah.
was kind of our theme back then.
Well, yeah.
But
but what was the last show at People Center?
the actual last one that we did, maybe
And were you guys?
could it be Ariel Pink?
It might have been Ariel Pink.
Yeah.
That was a
Did
fun
he
one.
cause problems?
I got yelled at by the tour manager because Mark didn't have a PA. And they're like, what do you got to have for a PA? And I'm like, I'm going to pick one up for my friends on the way there. That didn't go over very well. But one of the band members actually had the same PA head that you guys did. So he's like, oh, this is totally cool. And we wired the whole thing up and it worked out.
Well, I
But
think
it was-
I think I remember them coming pretty early and we
Yeah.
weren't set up yet.
Yeah. That was the thing too, is because we started doing bigger shows before we really knew how to. So, you know, when a band was like, oh, okay, we'll get there at 2 p.m. and we'll load in and then get our buyouts for dinner. And we're like, what does all that mean?
Well, I was like, I'm still going to be at school.
Yeah.
and I'm not old enough to buy you alcohol and other problems.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, the People Center thing too was funny because it was like an hourly rental too. It wasn't like renting an American Legion Hall. So I remember sometimes we would try to if the show didn't do well, we would try to load out really quick so we could pay the $75 instead of $100.
I was just trying to think of what show prompted them to finally say no, we can't do this here anymore.
I think we stopped doing shows there. I think it was we just found other spaces because I remember there was some.
I mean, definitely
punk fests and other events that happened there after us.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't think there was an event that was okay, that's it, we're done. I think it was more.
I do remember Piss Jeans not being that respectful of the building.
I mean, that could have been a show. That
We
would have been a show that would have ended it.
We
Yeah.
blew the electricity at that show.
Yeah.
That was an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 times. I remember that. Yeah,
Because we did
Book
that.
Piss Jeans now.
it'd be great. Yeah.
Book them now.
Okay.
Call them up.
Okay.
Call him right now.
Yeah.
I can. I'm on airplane
Airplane
mode.
mode, yeah.
If you won't even let me book Piss Jeans, Josh.
I've been trying to get all my favorites booked, and I can't do it.
Send an email to booking@manicpresents.com.
Yeah, make sure to include,
Please include
links.
Oh man.
Estimated draw. Who else they played with?
They've played for you. The end.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That should be enough.
And then Mark will ask me, "Could you email me the settlement from when they played in 2010?"
Which venue,
And I will.
Which venue do you miss the most?
Daniel
if you-
Street.
Daniel Street for sure.
If you, I mean,
Just because of the PA that was in there.
Well,
because
no,
of the
it was
Clam Festival.
no. I mean, look, it was
easy access to pizza.
Yeah, we did get free food. That was
We
usually nice.
did like the free food. It did have a great PA.
I think it was more that was our first real club that we got to book shows and pretty much had free reign over.
right. Yeah.
Phil, who was the manager, was super supportive and loved music, so he trusted us. And we had a green room upstairs, we had a good PA, and there was a real stage. And he would only get moderately nervous when we would book shows there.
Right. I think he did lose a bit of sleep when we booked Converge there.
Oh yeah, he was for 2 weeks.
But that was by far the tamest of all Converge shows that could have happened.
What's really funny is everyone everyone there, all the staff there were pretty nervous, and there was no issues up until I remember at the end we were flyering and 2 people started pushing and they were gonna fight. I said, guys, take the flyers, just go across the street. It was great. There was no fights inside Daniel Street.
Okay, so that's the one that if you could go back in time and just buy the building, you woulda.
Well, I think we talked about.
Yeah, I think at the timing was a little different, probably, because we.
I don't think we would go back.
Yeah,
now. But at the time.
At the time, yeah. I mean, I remember when we found out that they were going to sell and that was going to be it. We were like, now what do we do?
Yeah, what can we do? Yeah.
And I think that's when we went back to the space.
That's right. Yeah.
And that was kind of was our only option for a long time.
He's got the list.
Yeah, he does have the list. But there's always been some overlap. I mean, we were doing stuff at the Heirloom in Danbury. We were doing some stuff at Toad's Place when we could. Lily's Pad upstairs from Toad's. We did some memorable shows up there.
I think Daniel Street was just the only place where, we could do shows. 300 to 400 capacity show, great sound. It was a great location. It kind of had everything we wanted. At that point, Toad's was a bit big for what we wanted. Heirloom was a bit out of the way, although we did do some great shows there. Very high stage.
That was in Danbury, for those who don't know.
Yeah. It used to be called the Empress.
You booked a festival there.
Yep.
Yeah, that's on things to talk about.
You ever gonna book a festival again?
Festivals.
We've talked about it. If we did, it probably would be bigger and outside.
I would hope we never book a festival, but that's just me.
Yeah. Ben hates festivals.
I'm not a festival guy either.
I can imagine, especially in the background, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, I'd prefer to do a club show indoors any day.
Yeah,
Three bands.
Two
bands.
Yeah, not having to deal with the elements first of all,
Yeah.
and then having to deal
Rain.
with.
Yeah. I don't like being warm either. So
Really?
yeah, hot.
Sun?
Like, ugh.
And yeah, you have to deal with like porta potties and
Yeah, so now you
all
see
this-
why
all
now
these
you,
other
so,
elements.
So now you
food
see why I haven't booked
vendors.
another festival.
Yeah. Rick wants to talk about Bombfest. It's on his list.
That's on there eventually.
Okay.
I highlighted some shows where I feel like there were some the big learning curves that happened, like
Sure.
real
Yeah.
monuments.
Throw us a good one.
So Cromwell Nights Embrace Today show,
That's all yours.
Okay, that
2004, December 4th.
So I guess the first 10 years was is how we learned we learned to book
Big
and run
big
shows.
10-year curve.
Big 10-year curve. No, that was a good show. It did well. People came out and but yeah, I mean one of the biggest things back then was making sure that the halls stayed intact, because if not, typically they just would stop letting us do shows. And a lot of halls, that was a problem back then. Where
Certain halls, you needed to also know the diagram of how the chairs and tables were to go back in.
Right. Yes. Right. There was a lot of halls where in
They had
the
bingo
Legion
on Tuesdays, so they needed those chairs.
and the Legion was one of them where you had to set it up in a square, and you have to have 3 chairs per side, and they were very specific about how they wanted the room set. But I remember at Embrace Today, someone punched a hole in the wall, and what is it? Was it Scott from the band?
I wasn't there then. That was before my time.
That was definitely way before your time.
About 2 years.
Yeah, they basically stayed. Yeah, he was a carpenter and stayed behind and helped spackle the wall, and his next show happened and moved on. But it was definitely protecting the walls was something. I remember we also had to go around taking down any paintings, any pictures in the room, because if something broke.
And the capacity sign.
What was the thing where someone stole a picture off the wall and we had to backhandedly get it back to the hall?
Right, that was the American Legion. That was, it might have been, was it their? I'm trying to remember what was actually taken. It was maybe their license, their.
No, it was the picture
Was
of
it
the
one of their
founder or something.
portraits?
Yeah. It was an important picture.
I don't remember any details beyond that, but I do remember.
I can't.
You might remember the details, and you shouldn't say.
Next,
Just say, did the person who took it think it was just a funny thing to take?
that is what I'm told, and we were able
And
to
they
get it
might
back.
have been under the influence of some other.
Yeah, we basically put something out online. At that point, it was probably just MySpace. I don't even know if there was anything else. Maybe on our message board. I think we had a message board at that point.
I tried to get into
I think there
the
was a
archive
message.
of it, and I couldn't.
Oh well. So basically,
will relaunch it,
we
though.
basically put it out that this portrait was taken, and here's a list of the 20 or so shows that are going to be canceled. In addition to the other shows that were happening that were not ours, would all be canceled if it wasn't returned. And I think it got returned within a day or something. I mean, I think we found out pretty quickly who it was, and they apologized and brought it back.
So yeah, Cromwell Nights, nice big space. One other learning thing there. I don't know exactly was it a Good Life show or whatever, but this is when I was starting to get involved and made you do receipts from then on because you paid a band twice.
Right. So yeah, we started keeping much better records then. Right. There was a no. It wasn't the Good Life show. Because I remember
Aloha. It was some band tangentially related to that scene.
Yeah.
Well, because it was
Polyball
Good Life and
or
Make Believe. We're buddies with those guys, and
Yeah.
no, it definitely wasn't that show. But I don't remember what the band was, but I do remember there was a show where
there was a supporting band at Cromwell Nights.
we paid everyone. We were cleaning up. It was probably 1 a.m, and
I
so
got paid.
this guy came in, seemingly drunk. I remember we're cleaning up, and said, "Oh, hey, we never got paid." And I'm like, "Yeah, we did." "Oh, well, there's no receipt." And so we didn't want to argue. You know, we just
And the show did well enough. But,
yeah, we just were like, here.
but I
here's the
remember
cash.
yelling at you.
Yeah, no, that
And from then on,
we
you
started
got a receipt book.
doing receipts, and that was what was that 2000.
It had to be after like 2005.
That hall had other problems.
That must have
too.
been like 2005.
The parking situation was sprawled
Yeah.
into a neighborhood.
Remember the ISIS show there? We had a big problem with
ISIS
parking.
show was also a problem because the PA, the room was rectangular. They were set up in the middle of the room, so the sound was
Right, and
not correct.
I want to say that I don't know. Was that the show? I think they wanted to set up the room differently. Was that the show? Remember there was a show where we changed it. They played in the middle.
Yeah, when you walked in, they played like
Right.
in the
Yeah,
middle of the wall. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which it wasn't the only show set up like that. That one was in 2006. ISIS Dalek Zombie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
There was a zombie show at the American Legion. I tried to get you to have the bands play in front of the bathroom, and they said no.
That didn't. That also maybe happened at a maritime show, or no? That was when the power blew.
That's the time we had to have them play acoustic guitars, and the hall guy came to turn the power back on because we weren't supposed to be doing loud shows then because we were getting the cops called on us.
Which is why we stopped doing shows at the Legion.
Josh has this Wham Leg show with Zombie Apps and White Mountain highlighted as
That was just a good one.
sick gig.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
That was a great show.
Great show.
I think we could call that a sick gig.
Sick
was-
gig. Yeah,
That's what
there's
the note says.
nothing
Show
else to say
show
about
was
that.
packed, but not like ridiculous packed. But yeah, everybody played well.
Yeah.
It's good.
I think
gig.
everybody playing at all at that point was a good thing because I feel like there'd be 6 bands on a flyer and like 4 of them would be there.
I know Rick highlighted the Curse show where they didn't leave Canada until 6 o'clock at
Yeah,
night.
that's
We could talk about that.
that's that's almost a year and 3 months after the zombie show. But yeah, the Curse show on June 23rd, 2006.
I want to say.
They were coming from Canada.
Right, I'm trying to think who else was on the bill, but I remember it was almost like it was.
Banner, Wrench in the Works, Jagged Visions, Death Do Us Part, Belmore.
Got it. So yeah, so I remember Banner play. The whole bill played except for Cursed, and it was almost like 2 shows because
Yeah.
you know the show ended. I don't know, 9:30, 10, whatever time it ended, and then
Yeah, pretty early.
it ended pretty early. I think I want to say Cursed showed up. Was it midnight?
They
Maybe.
showed up after midnight, but I don't think they played until like 1:30.
Right, because
Yeah.
they had to come in and they want to do a
But
quick sound
I
check.
do remember that the attendance like dwindled
Oh, yeah.
from like
People-
200 people to like 30 people.
Yeah, I definitely.
I don't
maybe
think
20 people.
I don't even think there was 20. I mean, maybe there's 20 if you included all of us
Everyone. Yeah.
and the band members.
Right.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, they still played, and it was a great set. They knew that they were going to be late, and we told them that everyone's going to probably be gone. They still wanted to come and play, so they did.
Yeah, they only played Connecticut twice, and it was weird both times. There was less people at the first show.
What was the
They
first show?
played Yukon in like the year 2000 or something.
Oh,
Yeah.
So one of the going back to 2005.
okay.
That was when I started getting involved, and I put on that Sun show with you.
Yes.
That was the last, quote unquote Shred Legion show. It was also the first of your now 4 Sun shows, 3.
Is it 3 or 4?
Well, Legion. We had the
Polish Club.
Yeah, Sports Palace.
the Sports Palace,
Palace, yeah.
College Street, and
Maybe that is it. Maybe it was just 3.
was it just the 3?
It's probably the 3, but you're thinking of the other time you booked Dionystium.
Yeah.
Yeah,
with,
there was another month. Yeah, that's
Oh, maybe.
Yep.
The Sun shows are such ridiculous events that
true. Just in
It
general,
feels-
but like, just
yeah.
think about the trajectory those have gone to. Like from having them at the Wham Leg, destroying a PA.
literally, yeah.
Partially because I trusted someone I shouldn't have, and he brought out inferior equipment. It was somebody who worked at Daddy's Junkie Music.
Yeah, I remember that.
That I was going to school with at the time.
Yeah, I mean, that show almost didn't happen. And first of all, the ceiling was too low, so they couldn't fit their amps, so they weren't excited about that to begin with.
Right.
And then, yeah, I mean, halfway through Neck Mystium's set, the speakers caught on fire.
Right.
And I think you grabbed one, and maybe, I don't know who grabbed the other one, but it wasn't me.
It was really just the one that caught on fire.
Oh, so maybe it was just you grabbed it.
Yeah.
And then I think there was probably like an hour. Oh, well, then Neck Mystium finished the set.
Just without vocals or whatever,
instrumental, yeah. And then there's probably like an hour with no music, and the bands were actually happy. Oh, we're selling merch. We're having a great time. No one seemed worried after that. But then we got the new PA, and the band played.
Okay.
Everything. It was a nightmare.
For as bad as it was, everything went okay.
Oh, sure.
And the show is totally infamous.
That
at
show
this point.
that show should have never happened.
Yeah.
If you go to their website, the photo from that show with Zather is is still on there.
Yep.
Is there anybody else that you booked at an early stage that you've now booked at a large capacity venue?
I mean, probably Dinosaur. Dinosaur Jr.
Yeah, from Daniel Street up to College Street. But there's got to be some more. There's got to be some bands.
High on Fire, Municipal Waste.
Yeah.
I mean, you can talk about the Puppet House if you want.
That's on here. The first time you booked Municipal Waste was Wham Leg, right?
Yeah, there were
Yes.
footprints
And
on the
that
ceiling
was-
for about a year after.
Yeah. And that was wild, but it wasn't Puppet House wild.
Right.
Puppet House Day, though, you also had a show at Trinity on Main, which is when you started getting involved with Ben.
Yep.
and
Right.
their- and that
So
crew.
Municipal Waste. Yeah, it was a matinee show. It was because they were recording in the area, and they, had to travel back to the recording studio or something that night, and they had their time booked, and they said, "Oh, we could do a. You want to do a early show with us?" And okay, it's a Sunday. Oh, punk hardcore matinee show on a Sunday. That's perfect. And we had a show that night with Appleseed Cast up in New Britain.
Recurring theme.
What, Appleseed Cast or New Britain?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, both are. Yeah,
Well,
very
mostly just Appleseed Cats.
Yeah. Well, we did do a lot of shows back then, but no, it was the Municipal Waste show. It was great. Everything was smooth. Nothing happened, and that's it.
Before we booked Municipal Waste the most recent time, we definitely revisited some YouTube videos. So if anybody wants to relive those days.
It's
I
all
might
it's
put
all
some in the blog.
it's all on YouTube.
Yeah.
Most of it.
Not the parking lot stuff.
We're not going to talk about that.
Okay.
I was at Trinity on Main doing completely legal things that day.
Oh, that's right. Yes. So you
I
were up
wasn't
there the
on
whole
any of
day.
these shows.
I was setting up the other show, because you guys were...
I definitely wasn't on any of these at any of these shows, or the driver that made a speedier getaway.
Hey, I was wearing a big hoodie, so I could really hide.
Can we do a separate podcast where we actually talk about the things we're talking about, and we'll set it up with a Patreon?
Oh man,
Yeah.
that's a good one.
Yeah, all the edits are for sale.
To learn more about Puppet House.
We could probably do a whole podcast on Municipal Waste shows.
Sure. Get more guests. Get everyone who was ever kicked out.
Oh, God.
A lot of them are customers, so we could find them.
They're probably listening.
It's cool.
Hopefully, yeah.
Hey Andy, how's it going? How's your head? Yeah. I Am Festival. That was a good time. That one's we were just listed as a festival affiliate. You didn't have it. You didn't. Book that one at all, did you?
I Am Festival was it was a great festival in New London on the pier, and we just we helped promote it, set up a tent there and hung out for the day, sold tickets and passed out flyers and enjoyed music. I mean, it was just like we were basically a sponsor essentially.
Yeah.
So we weren't involved with
you had-
booking it or anything like that.
But did that? You had experience then working with like UConn, and then even this has me thinking of like larger institutions that you ended up getting involved with, like UConn and Wadsworth Atheneum. I don't know, even like Lily's Pad or something. Where
I think
like,
at that point we did a couple shows at CCSU as well.
CCSU.
The Jello Biafra show,
Yeah.
and then the ISIS show with.
Well, Mike went there, and
George,
so
yeah.
we were able to
so
do
that makes
events.
sense that that happened. But what brought on the others?
Particularly UConn. I
Sure.
think. I mean, I think the band, whatever the first show we did there, I think the band's agent like got us involved, and that's how we really got involved with a lot of different places. The bands brought us in and said, hey, you should be working with these guys. That's how we did our first show at the Schubert. We did our first show at Toads, and then after that, we were able to do more events basically.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really just to start, helping out with marketing. We'd get, like $50 to cover our marketing supplies, and we would blast out all these shows and get people in the door. And then from there, we kind of started having better relationships with those rooms.
Yeah. So anyway, talk about how Ben got involved in the first place. Like,
Well, I met Mike through some mutual friends, and we booked, and we did a couple shows at Cherry Street Station, and then at Trinity on Main, and then from there we just started, working together on booking stuff, and because it made more sense. I think at that point too, like it didn't make sense to do like competing shows. I remember we were like, I think it was a Weed Eater show that we both put in offers for. We're like, why are we competing when we could, for a show in the same room, we could just do the show. And I think from then on, we were just like, okay, so we're just going to book shows together.
And just a side note, the mic he's referring to is a friend of ours who used to work with Manic and who's no longer with us.
Yep, and we do miss him a lot. But yeah, with Ben, it just made sense. Like-minded, and we.
Yeah, at the time, we were both completely DIY. We were, dragging PAs like into the venue, before the show.
We co-promoted a few shows, and it just made sense. Like, oh, why don't you just be part of this? you know?
It was a good fit. I mean, at first it was like, it was like, who is this guy? What are we doing? And then it really did make sense. Like, especially like, when we're renting halls and like coming out of pocket for shows. A lot of the time, it was. Even that, it helped some of the losses. I mean, we were booking shows that we had no business booking.
Definitely. I want to also say, too, like, I feel like we probably... I think you asked where we met. Did you ask that question?
I mean, just how he got involved. So
Well, I was going to say, I think
that's part of
we
how-
probably booked Mammoth Hunter, who...
Yeah, we played at the American Legion.
And I feel like you were just... You started helping out at some shows, and you were around.
Yeah.
I think that's how we started talking, and then after that, we just started working on some shows together, and sometimes unnecessarily competing.
Yeah,
And then-
it was
Oh,
good. I
it's
mean,
just-
it kind of brought together like our individual contacts, and I think it definitely helped grow the thing too, because it was just more ideas and more resources and just more ideas.
Definitely.
And then, I think the first show that me, you, and Mike worked together that we worked on as a team, more so than just co-promo and helping out, it was the Rosetta show at Cherry Street that had there were more people working than paid to get in.
Gowns play?
It was
What's the
Rosetta and
band that Gowns became? It's some band that I think we worked with.
at the space a few years later. Yeah. But yeah, that was a long time ago.
Wait, I seem to remember that Cerberus Shoal might have played that too. I think it was a...
No, they didn't play that show.
It was a post-rock band, there's a metal band.
It's somewhere on that list. It's
somewhere, yeah.
It was at Cherry Street,
Maybe
probably
before Trinity on Main, right?
It was probably...
was at Cherry
It was
Street,
probably
right?
early 2007.
The other thing that was strange about Trinity on Main is that all the shows that happened there, the wall of
There was a giant stained glass
the
door
wall,
behind the
the wall of
stage.
stained glass never got fucked with.
We did municipal waste there, and that place was in immaculate condition.
We did
after
have
the
to.
show.
We did have to have security, or our friends who we called security, watch each entrance to the balcony. Though we
Yeah.
we
would
went
put
into that show
we would
knowing
put
no
tables up
balcony.
in front of the balcony,
Right. Well,
like that was going to.
well, we barricaded it and put people there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, was the show you did was Rosetta Day Without Dawn, Lucid the River Between the Walls?
No, it wasn't that one.
Different
one.
It was
Different one.
it was a 3-band.
We
one.
we booked Rosetta
Okay.
a lot back then.
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
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 There was definitely a lot of
They were
repeats
good.
early on.
I don't feel like they got as much appreciation as
Right.
I
as
think
the people who
that
booked
might
them.
have been a Mike thing because that was kind of his style of music.
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely got me real big into post rock, post metal, whatever you want to
Post-metal.
call it.
Yeah.
he was definitely
He was really into Pelican. I remember when we
he-
were
Russian
trying to do that show for a
Circles.
long time.
yeah he
New
was
Russian Circles record is good.
Yeah.
definitely they're great.
I don't know, man. I've gotten back too far now.
What else you got highlighted on that list?
Let's see. Appleseed Cast.
I think we've gone over that one.
I wonder if they're listening.
Not Brooklyn Fest. What
we
so
sort
being
of
at
talked about
I Am
that.
Fest did not inspire you to try to do a fest of your own, and it was not Brooklyn Fest. 2008, April.
At the Aero
Memorial
Mars,
Day weekend. I know it was Memorial Day weekend without even looking at the dates, just because I was at Maryland Death Fest when this happened.
No, I remember the festival. I mean, it did really well. It was great. But I think festivals take a lot of time to plan, and I think it's
There's a lot of moving parts.
There
There's
are.
a lot of bands. There's a lot of people.
I mean, I think
There's a lot of money.
I think when we booked that festival, I think we were booking other shows at that point, but I think it wasn't to the extent that we are now. I think it would be we'd need a person. I'd need someone else booking all the other shows while I'm focusing on this festival. It's just a lot of work.
Yeah.
You kind of need a team, a festival team, because it is.
I mean,
really-
generally, yeah, you look at the companies that book festivals. And
Yeah, they're
that's-
usually
that's
booking a
what they
year
do.
out. Yeah,
But yeah, they're
and
bu-
specifically doing that.
Yeah, it takes them over a year to produce it. And
How many shows are you doing a year now, you think?
a year.
It's actually one of the things I was going to bring up because, like,
It's
you look
probably
back
at
at
least 300.
I would say anywhere between
Because just Manic Mondays is 50 shows.
right.
And then we do about 100 at College Street, or try to. Like somewhere between 75 and 100. And then the Ballroom, we're doing 15 to 20 shows a month there. And that's
Yeah.
not counting when we do like a one-off at the Palace or something outside.
I'd say 3 to 350. I mean, there's it's some nights. I mean, we might have 2 or 3 events. The first week of September, first week and a half of September, we got probably 15 shows across 10 days. So it can get pretty busy.
Is there anyone that you still want to book that you haven't been able to get the chance to? Like who's missing? Who's the white whale?
The white whale. Well, we've been able to check the list off on a bunch of artists, but I mean, My Bloody Valentine is definitely an artist we've wanted to book for a while. Mazzy Star.
Wu-Tang Clan would be a fun one to do.
The Roots.
Roots,
We'd
yeah.
love to do the Roots. I think that would be a great show at College Street.
Hatebreed was a big one we got to cross off the list this year.
Definitely. Death Cab, Hatebreed. Those were 2 that have been on our list for a long time.
Death Cab was a quick sellout,
Very quick.
and then Hatebreed came close.
It was very, very close. It was their biggest show they've ever done in New Haven.
Yeah, their biggest headline show in New Haven.
And it was great.
That show went off without a hitch.
Right.
There really were no problems at
No
all.
problems. Openers were great.
Yep.
Yeah, great package, obituary and fit for an autopsy.
Cro-Mags, yep.
Cro-Mags.
Yeah, I think that's, something too, is that, as much as
Madball,
we're...
too?
No, not on that show.
Who else played that show?
Terror.
Terror.
Oh, Terror.
Yep.
That's right. Oh, that's a blast from the past.
I think it's a great thing too, is that for as many shows as we do, we're doing shows for people. We want people to come out to shows, obviously, but when we get to do a show for a band that we really enjoy, that's a huge bonus. And it's, it makes it worth doing this.
Totally.
What's the highest number of shows you've had to do in 1 week? The true scrambling.
So in 7 days, how many shows have we done in 7 days? 10, 12, maybe.
Yeah.
There's definitely have been 3 to 4 day runs where there's multiple shows on each of those days. And it's running around for
sure. Have you ever accidentally spread yourself too thin where you're like, oh man, we have 2 shows tomorrow, 3 shows tomorrow, and we're short 1 showrunner. What do we do?
Well, no. Okay, yes and no. We would.
There's been times that I've emailed settlement to another show from a show that I'm at.
Me too, and then ran over to settle that show after I'm done at that show. And there's also been shows where, I've had to drive back and forth between venues, it's really whatever it takes to make it happen. But we don't want our we don't want our level of staff to get in the way of doing events, and we've just grown our team to accommodate that.
Yeah, and I think we'll do really whatever it takes to make sure that the show goes off well. We want to make sure that the bands have a great time and that the audience, that whoever comes to the show, has a good experience. We're at the point now where I think that people expect a lot from us, which is good because it's good to have standards, and we've been really lucky that once we merged with Premiere and got to put money into these venues and made the ballroom what it is, made College Street what it is, we've been able to have well produced, good sounding shows with with a good staff, and we know what we're getting into. And we're without having a good team, I don't think we'd be able to do that.
Yep.
So early on, shows were happening once every so often, and then all of a sudden you're doing once a week or something like that, and then you get to the point where you said there'd be 3-4 days where you have multiple shows each day, and then Premiere came in and said, "Hey, I like what you're doing."
Well, actually, we saw
how'd that happen.
We saw that.
It was the Pixies show.
So we saw that there was a Pixies show happening at the Waterbury Palace Theater, and I was like, oh, who's promoting that show? So we looked it up, and it was Premiere Concerts. I've never heard of that, and so we cold called them and told them who we were,
and basically who are you guys, and how did you do this show?
Right. Yeah, we basically convinced them to throw us $100. Hey, we'll help promote this show, and we did that, and they thought we did a good job, and so they started doing that on a few other shows, and throwing us a little more money, and we were kind of building up our funds, and then we started booking some bigger shows ourselves, and basically shows that were too big for us to handle by ourselves, and brought them in to co-promote, basically split the shows. They were just too expensive and too big to produce on our own. And that's how we got involved.
So what was the first one of those you split with them?
Flaming Lips at the Oakdale would be the first one.
Yep. Yeah, the first time we were financially
Flaming Lips and Spiritualized.
Yep.
And so they were happy with the Flaming Lips and Spiritualized show and decided to keep working with you.
Yeah, I think it kind of showed them that we weren't just some kids that handed out flyers, and that we were actually able to produce a real show, and just.
So after that, we I'm trying to think, the other show was Andrew Bird and Lucius.
Yep, at the Klein in Bridgeport.
And then Neutral Milk Hotel.
Yep.
And
And we did Willie Nelson at the Schubert with them.
that's right. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, no, it was a good relationship. You know, we had a partner that we could do bigger events with, and you know, they had the experience doing these bigger events, more mainstream artists, and we were still doing a lot of DIY, and a lot of the artists that we had been working with were getting more popular, so they started playing bigger venues, so it made sense to have a partner where we can do bigger events with them.
Yeah, and to kind of to grow with those bands too. I mean, I don't think that
exactly.
either one of us was at early on. We're like, we're gonna do like music industry type stuff. I think it was just kind of.
We never even thought.
Yeah,
about
I don't think it was really
that.
I don't want to say it was necessity, but it was like when we were growing with the bands, like if a band that we booked at an American Legion Hall was suddenly on a package tour, and like we could book them at Daniel Street and get 400 people out, it was like, well, why wouldn't we do that?
Right.
And then when the shows like the Pixies started happening and Flaming Lips with Premiere, it was like, wow, we could really do something. And then when the opportunity for College Street came up, it was like, the natural progression. And, we're really lucky to have been in that position, and it's been great. Right, Mark?
I agree.
Do you mean that?
All right, so that brings us to where we are now. Again,
Which is
the present.
got it.
Redscroll Records,
Here we are.
talking to Manic.
Where Redscroll Records used to set up behind the American Legion at these shows that we were...
Well, before that, it was one table in the Legion. Then it was 2. Then it was 3. Then it was a.
I stopped once it got to 4 tables is when I stopped, because then I couldn't put enough.
Then it was an island in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, all right. Well, I guess I'll open a store now. Makes sense.
Makes sense.
But
yeah, so we're rolling in off of summer and into the fall, like winter, into next spring. I'm sure you're booking into next spring right now.
Yep.
So things are gearing up. What do you have upcoming that you're excited about?
In the immediate future, we are doing King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
Which
Great.
will have already happened by the time this is online.
Yeah,
You're-
this
you're-
It
goes-
was up the first.
But we're
goes
still
up
very
first.
excited about it, even though it's already...
Yeah, you can be excited about
Even
it.
though it's...
Oh man, that show was great.
Right, that was a great show.
Great event.
I can't believe how well it did.
It's an insanely popular band that puts out a
record every month.
ridiculous amount of records.
and different genres too. I mean, their latest record was a metal. Well, the latest record is a metal record.
Genre bending.
Yeah.
Bending, yeah, that's
Blending.
bending.
Ah.
As in, like, it's all rock and roll.
Yeah.
It's all
They're
fuzzy
bringing
rock
in
and
different
roll,
influences.
but they have different influences,
Right.
and definitely different feels to different records.
But yeah, I've seen the ticket totals, and that show is doing very well.
Yeah.
It is.
So people, hopefully, they bought tickets and went, and
Yeah.
it was a great time.
But looking into September, for shows people should be buying tickets to.
Yeah.
Wise Blood, which Mark mentioned earlier, one of his favorite records at the moment.
Yeah.
We have Ceremony, who we've worked with several times. We're looking forward to that show.
The new record will be out by the time this goes
It's out
up.
Friday.
Yeah.
It's out this Friday.
This Friday, which was 2 Fridays
Two
ago.
Fridays ago. Hope you love the record.
The tracks that have been out have been great.
Yeah.
And then we're doing Goblin, Claudio Simonetti's Goblin,
Which is a,
performing Deep Red.
Being co-produced by you guys.
Yeah, really looking forward to that show. And I'm laughing because I'll be at Massive Attack that night. But
Oh man.
I'll be at the show.
But Josh will be there, and anybody out there who's listening right now, though, and if you're aware of Goblin, you should definitely get that ticket because they put on a good show. And Claudio Simonetti is the man
Main
running
brain.
the most authentic Goblin
Yeah.
at the moment, because there's a couple of them.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're doing Profondo Rosso Deep Red
Yep.
is pretty exciting, and I would love to be able to.
Yeah.
And they're going to be playing along to the movie as well.
Yeah, it's going to be
which
pretty
a
is
live score,
great,
so it's gonna
which is
be-
great. And I saw them do that. I went to Texas and to Los Angeles to see them do that 2 other times before, and it was really great. Actually, one of those
Was
times
that with
was
Dawn
not-
of
was
the
not
Dead?
Goblin. Yeah. the other time.
And you have
actually-
Book Goblin before, and that show was wildly successful. It was a creepy old church, and we got to be in the crypt and listen to the band.
Yeah, I do remember being in the crypt
Yeah.
and being terrified.
Yeah, there's dead bodies down there.
And telling people not to smoke cigarettes in the church.
Yeah. It was super strange that you'd have to do that.
But yeah, no, we're really excited about the fall. We're doing a lot more podcasts, lots of comedy.
And by doing more podcasts, you don't mean this kind of thing. You mean presenting.
Presenting.
Right,
Live
live.
podcast.
I'm sorry. Yes, live podcasts.
The Moth. is
The
coming.
Moth. Welcome to Night Vale.
Two massive things. Like, if you haven't bought a Moth ticket yet and you're planning on going, you should definitely do it right away.
We just did Comedy Bang Bang, which was a fantastic show.
Hasn't quite happened yet as we're recording this.
Well, I'm
I
trying
see,
to-
I see
Yeah.
what you're doing, but now you're going to
Catching
confuse
on.
people.
Yeah,
You've already said it one way. You can't go
I
back.
agree with you. It was wonderful.
Great
Well,
show.
But no, that is going to be a great show. Are we on that part out?
Yeah, but fall's always
No.
fall's always our busiest time, and we'll be doing an insane amount of shows every week, and
I mean, Built to Spill, playing perfect from now on. We're excited about that.
Is there
Lo-
anything that's selling really well that if people haven't bought a ticket for yet and they're thinking about it, they should really get on it because the sellout's real?
all of them. Buy a ticket to
Yes,
all of the shows.
All shows selling fast. I mean, a lot of the shows at the ballroom have been selling out.
Yeah, Wise Blood's selling well.
Lucy Dacus of Montreal,
And
Luna.
a lot of things
Melvin's.
are coming real close, even if they're not, like, the day of the walk-up it's getting real close.
Definitely, and I mean, we've been kind of surprised at how great the turnouts have been, both at the ballroom, College Street, and the Manic Mondays. I mean, getting 60, 70, 80 people for a free show on a Monday.
Just got RSVP.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, you RSVP and get in for free, or you pay $5. I mean, I guess it's also surprising that every show that we do, no matter how many people RSVP, we'll always have 15, 20 people walk up and pay $5.
And Cafe 9's happy with that too, right?
Yeah, no, it's
I
great.
mean, obviously, if you get 70 people in the door on a Monday night,
Right,
Yeah,
they
that's
norm
great for
they
them.
they,
So-
they they
so
basically
that no signs of that slowing down, and like you have that booked as far ahead as you can, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I think we have shows booked through the end of the year.
Yeah,
Wow.
and it's it's great now because bands are routing their tours, planning to do the Monday, and then so it's been great. I mean, most of the shows are touring acts, and then one or two locals opening, and we do most bills are probably
Probably about 3 bands.
3 bands. Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
we've ever done more than that. I think a 3-band bill is pretty.
It's good for a Monday. We could get people to still get out at a decent time, and it's a great opportunity for bands who need to fill a Monday while they're on the road, which is traditionally a harder night to even get a show booked.
Right.
You run them more on real time rather than bar time.
Yeah,
Right. We
yeah.
run them like normal shows. So
No punk time.
seven doors, 8 show, and the headliners are typically on by 9:15.
It turns a lot of people off that when they know that the first band isn't going to go on until 9:30 at a show that's happening at a
Right.
bar, which I know is the case at a lot of bars, and I get why. But you definitely do yourself a disservice to getting people out.
I think we've tried to shy away from that recently. Well,
in the last couple of years, I mean, we've really moved. I mean, I would say most shows, probably 90% of our shows are like a 7 doors, 8 show.
Yeah.
Some of them are early. I mean, some of the comedy shows. I mean, they want those shows to start right at 7. I mean, they don't want to go late.
Especially when there's the opportunity to add a second show.
Right. A lot of the comedy shows are blowing right out. We're doing 2 shows with a lot of them. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a misconception with bars. They think if they run their shows late, more people will drink, and I think that's just not the case.
yeah, I think we
Not
found
around
that.
here.
Yeah,
I don't think so. I think more people are coming out because we're running shows earlier.
Yeah, I agree.
Because people have jobs, school, other life things going on, and frankly, people don't want to be out till midnight, 1 in the morning. So most of our shows will end, during the week, will end latest 11, and or on the weekend, typically around midnight or earlier, depending.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to plenty of stuff lately that's been ending at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Is there any genres that are just so hard to pull into the secondary market that is Connecticut? Like, what are you having real trouble with?
It's really hard to get a lot of bands that are really blowing up, like in places like New York and LA, and then trying to convince them to come here. Because what happens sometimes is by the time they're ready to play secondaries and haven't been here yet, they don't want to play a 300 cap room. And to get them into College Street is sometimes hard to kind of, get everybody on board with it.
Bands have expectations at that point, and I think what bands should be doing is, hitting these, hitting the secondary markets, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Vermont, New Jersey, things like that, and building it up, because when bands are just building it up in the major markets, yeah, sure, it seeps down into the smaller markets, but they have all these expectations. Maybe they're bringing along some production, and maybe they have big crews, and they have real expenses, and so sometimes it's hard to pull it off.
Yeah, we found the bands that we've got to build early on, doing shows at places like Bar and Cafe 9, and even the front room of Space Ballroom, that second time in, the crowd gets bigger, and we kind of build them from the ground up, and that's what's great about the position we're in now, is that we have rooms that we could grow people at. We could do a show with 100 people, 300 people, 1,200 people, and we want to build bands. We want to work with these bands. We want to be able to grow the audience with them.
And I think people also appreciate seeing a band early on as they're growing, and having that intimate experience. I think it helps build like a band's cult following. I saw the band in a basement with 12 people. Now I'm seeing them in front of 2,000 people. It's it helps bring context to the experience.
Yeah, look at a band like Front Bottoms, who've we've done shows to almost nobody, and then they almost sold out College Street.
Right. No, exactly. I mean, definitely basement shows early on. I remember we did a show with them once at the Space, and it was maybe 20 people, but it was everyone knew the words. It was like the craziest. It was the smallest show we had where everyone was excited and knew the words, and I was just like, wow, this band's gonna blow up. I've never seen such a small crowd be so excited about a band. So it's been great to see that band grow, for sure.
Yeah, so bands, come play Connecticut when you could only draw 20 people, and we'll
You'll incubate them?
Yeah. I think that's something too. Like,
will.
I don't think bands, especially local bands, and this is a little bit off the subject, but don't be afraid to play to 20 people. I mean,
also don't be afraid to play out of state.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny you say it like this, because like the comedy thing from that other angle, like you're getting now these comedy shows where they're just either working on their acts or building and
working on new material.
It's so much easier for them because it's just one person,
Yep.
and they don't have gear for the most part.
Yeah.
Sure.
But also, it's a good example of like how accessible these clubs are from New York.
Yeah.
Well, right. I mean, we get a lot of our shows because bands are playing New York and Boston, and they're driving through. And that's actually when we first started booking shows. That's how we would book shows. We
we'd see a hole in the tour dates and be like, hey, do you guys want to add?
Exactly. And actually, we've always booked a ton of international artists, simply because they fly into New York, and a lot of times we'll do. They'll fly into New York, they'll drive down to Connecticut, they'll do their warm-up show, and then they'll do their big New York show. Or, they, on the other end, they play, they do their New York, they play their New York show, they do the Connecticut show, and then they drive back to New York, whatever, and then they fly home.
Yep.
Squeezing them in.
Yep.
Squeezing it.
Playing a show, flying home. That's it.
Exactly.
Yep. Or fly him here for a festival.
No one's gonna understand that.
So
joke.
we've covered
Oh,
your
plenty of people will.
Yeah.
Got a lot of jokes.
Great.
So we talked about who you think you want to book that you haven't yet, but what are your favorite bands to work with that you've worked with?
Musically, or as people, or
Both.
or both. Yeah.
Which is, here's the three criteria: musically,
Yeah.
as people, and as successful.
Draw the Venn diagram.
Well,
I mean, I
I-
think
Yeah.
the three that come to mind that probably hit all three would be Dinosaur Jr., The Flaming Lips, and Kurt Vile.
Yes. Yeah. And those are all examples of bands that we've, I guess have done a bunch of shows with, and yeah, it's always a pleasure working with those artists, and all the shows do well, and yeah, it's great. It's hey, great to have you back.
It's
And
us again.
Of course,
Yeah, exactly.
being successful always makes the person easier to deal with
Yeah.
in the first place.
True.
Sure.
But I mean, Kurt Vile. We were doing those shows early on, and actually, the first time we did a Kurt Vile show, it was before. I think it was before the Violators existed, and it was opening for Dinosaur Jr. at Daniel Street.
Yep. It was in 2011.
Yeah, maybe 2010, 2011. I'm sure it's on the sheet.
Sheet stops in 2011, so it's possible.
But yeah, I would say those three bands, Built to Spill, Melvins,
Melvins
Deer
were always
Tick,
great.
just all great people. The shows always do well. Yeah.
What's a place that you've checked out as a potential venue and you're like, oh no, not this. This is not going to happen.
That's a good question.
I don't know if there's any really existing venues, but I mean, there's like sites we've looked at.
Right.
You know,
yeah,
that
we've
were
looked
like,
at,
oh, this building could be
warehouses and things like that. But I don't know if there was any venues where we walked in and we said, "Oh, we're not booking here." Am I wrong?
I don't know. Well,
I think we've at least tried almost every venue that's been an option. I mean, we did shows at Center Church, we did shows at the Heirloom, we did shows at the Wadsworth, we did it, Popeye's Garage, the secret location here in Wallingford.
Mark's basement in his own home.
Right.
Did somebody highlight Fort Sunshine in this list?
I did. We didn't cover that.
Shall we cover it?
Sure, let's cover Fort Sunshine. So for
Mark, that's
for a
all
while
you-
you lived in a house with some other people, some musically inclined, some not. And,
Yep.
there were shows that happened there that you booked, that other people booked.
Yep. It was me and some of the roommates. We all
Yeah.
put together some shows, and some of our friends put together shows there too. And it was definitely interesting because sometimes I would have a show somewhere else and I'd go home and there'd be a show, or I would come home from working one of my other jobs, probably working at a hotel and probably Chili's at that point, a couple other jobs, or I came home from school, and yeah, I'd come in and there'd be 10 people hanging out in my room, and I'd get undressed and go take a shower, and then get dressed and see another show.
Is that how it went?
Yeah.
What was it like being a host at Chili's?
It was fine. I don't think I can.
At what point did you quit Chili's? And for what reason?
I think they quit him.
No, well, I think things got to the point where it got so busy that I just started quitting. I mean, I was working a few part-time jobs while going to college and booking shows on the side.
And nefarious things otherwise.
How much college did you get in?
How much college?
How much college did you get in?
Associates,
In what?
business management.
Okay, so the 2-year degree in business management.
Yeah. So you got a degree.
Yeah, I mean, I mean,
Has it helped at all?
that I was just gonna say. I mean, I think it was a good experience to, be around that and learn. I mean, like contract law. Learning about that type of stuff. I think some of the things helped me out. But I don't. I'm not using the degree itself for anything. Some of the classes aren't really relevant to what I do now.
No, and I think that's a good way to kind of mention that we do get a lot of interns from colleges, and that's really a good way to get some real life experience, especially in this business, because I don't think
You've gone on to hire interns too in paid positions.
R-
So
right,
I think
so-
that's something that people should know is that
Right.
that could be your window in.
Well, right, exactly. Yeah, we've definitely had people that have started as Mario. People have started as interns, and they basically did such a great job that when their internship was up, we hired them.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a good, and it's also a good way to get experience. Do internships at a bunch of venues, management companies, record labels. Just get a well-rounded experience in the music industry. I think you'll learn a lot more doing that than probably the classes themselves.
Yeah, because that's something that neither one of us did. Because again, like we mentioned earlier, I don't think either one of us really thought the music industry was where we would end up. But
And Ben still has a job at a bank.
I do.
Yes.
In addition to this, I've been working full time.
He has an adult man job.
I do. I'm an IT systems analyst, and I've been
It's
working.
funny because we're talking about Manic, which is running college street shows, and we're talking about a person that still has to have a 40-hour job
Chooses.
with a bank. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I work on average 70 to 80 hours a week between the two jobs, and it's one of those things that's cool that I'm able to do both, and it's also incredibly stressful that I have to do both. But I don't know any other way to do it. I've been going to shows since I was 14 years old, and it's always been a part of it. So, going to shows now, I'm just doing some math and taxes too while I'm there. Yeah.
Ben's very smart.
Very smart. Well,
Mark's here too.
Are you gonna drop the symbol thing?
yeah. How do I?
I'm gonna put some lasers in there.
You're gonna beam him back in?
Oh man, you want some Star Trek sounds? I'll put some.
Yeah. Please. Over this and over this and over that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we reached the end.
So, if people want to get on shows, booking at manicpresents.com.
Yep. And send some links.
Yep, send some links.
Tell us
send
about
some
your
info.
band. Tell us what you've done.
Be honest.
What you want to do. Yeah.
No t-shirt cannon, no confetti for an opener.
Right.
Well, a t-shirt can is negotiable, but no confetti.
Right. You have to be Flaming Lips to do that.
Sick.
Thanks for coming on. Really.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.